The King's back. 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 The King's back.
Yeah, what's up? What's good? What's happening? Welcome to my live stream. I am the actual King Smith, and this is Wake Up with the Actual King Smith. We are live Monday, December the 1st, 2025. I think I have found my time that works to be able to get this going in the morning, every morning, as well as hit my 9 to 5. So this week, anyway, we're going to see about going live at 7 a.m. Eastern every morning so I can come on to talk about whatever the funk I want to talk about. On Thursdays, I give my ZEP bound or ZEP date update, if you will. Shout out to It's Darium for that idea, as I am taking the GLP-1 known as ZEP bound, and I hit 20 pounds lost today, which I hit once and then went backwards on that. But things are starting to show some progress towards that. So I give those updates on Thursdays. The rest of the program in this live stream are just things that I see, stuff that's going on, conversations that people are having that make me wonder what's going on. And I have the conversations here on the live streams to give other people the opportunity, a chance to tune in, chime in as well. Hope the rest of y'all 2025 went as good as mine did, because there was a lot that happened this year. As we approach the end of this year, really reflect on what went down for you, the good things, the bad things, the loved ones that you still have in your life, the loved ones that have transitioned on, and be thankful for what you have. This year was a crazy year. This has been one of the more interesting years that I can think of in my adult life. And it's hard to explain why. There's been some really good ups, some really good downs, and it's also seemed like one of the longest years in recent history. I'm curious if I'm the only one that feels that way or not. One of the first things that somebody sent to me over this past weekend, and I'm going to share my screen here, is the social media ban in Australia for kids. In the quick bluff statement, which is the bottom line up front, in about 10 days, anyone under 16 in Australia won't be able to keep or make accounts on social media apps like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, and more. The rule doesn't punish young people or their families. Instead, social media companies have to stop under 16-year-old people from having accounts or risk serious fines, which are reportedly up to $50 million. The new law is meant to make things safer, but UNICEF Australia, which is where I got this article from, believes the real fix should be improving social media safety, not just delaying access. So Australia lawmakers wrote this up and put this into existence last year. And then they took a whole year. Once it made it through their legislative process, they took a whole year to ensure that there were certain things that needed to be set up and in place to be able to come out and enforce this. So they called their law the Online Safety Amendment, or in English terms, the Social Media Minimum Age Bill. And like I said earlier, it got passed November of 2024. The reason why their government wants to do it is they're saying that a social media ban is needed to protect the mental health and well-being of their citizens, children, and teens. And they believe that the risk of social media, such as cyberbullying, harmful content, online predators, etc., outweigh the positives. And as I was thinking about this, I was curious because I didn't grow up with social media. I'm 41 years old. The only media, it's interesting the way that you look at social media, right? From what I see with how I grew up, the only media that we had access to at the ready really was the TV. You would turn on the TV, you would see what was going on by whatever the media that you were looking at wanted to present you. If you read newspapers, then yeah, you could see things through the newspaper. But the only access that I had growing up to like instant communication, if y'all are old enough to remember when you had like AOL chat rooms, you would go into chat rooms, you had your username. Mine was like, man, what was my AOL username? It was something stupid. But I don't remember exactly what it was. I just remember it being something cheesy at the time. But if you were to experience any cyberbullying, it came from there. And cyberbullying itself is an interesting beast when you consider, well, what's the difference between how somebody would bully you in person versus bullying you online, where there's a little bit of more anonymity and people that can hide behind something like this keyboard that I'm showing here on my screen. I don't know if banning young people is the right move. Initially, off the top of my head, just that gut feeling. My gut feeling is telling me that it's useless. My gut feeling is telling me that it will actually put, it could, I'm going to say it could put their kids behind the 8 ball, so to speak, against the rest of the world when it comes to knowledge sharing and things like that. I believe, and it's hard to put really good safeguards onto anything, right? It's really hard to put safeguards onto anything. But I believe that social media can really enhance the way that our young minds learn, grow, adapt, all of those things. Like it helps, it really can help them become a better person. But parents, right? The people that have the most influence, even though educators, right? Some people say, hey, you send your kids to these educators for 30 some hours out the week, and they have a major influence as well, but it should start in the home. My daughter is now 18, and I didn't have or give her a social media ban per se. I more wanted to see how she was managing social media and if she could do it responsibly. And it took one time that her mother saw something that she didn't like with her social media because she snooped through her phone that caused us to then really start educating her about her use of social media and apps and things of that nature. And in my opinion, that was the better move than just trying to ban her altogether, which would have likely eroded the trust that we were trying to build with her and cause her to find some type of alternative way to figure things out anyway. There's going to be a black market way of being able to get these young minds to figure out how to go around the ban. And I'm curious how they're going to do it, but I don't see this really being a positive thing for Australia going forward. But let me know if I'm wrong in that scenario, or if you think that the ban is a good idea. The next thing that I found interesting that came up, and I'm going to put this up on the screen as well. This is, let me see. This happened in the UK. So I was trying to figure out the authenticity of this article or this picture here to see if this actually occurred or not. And if so, I think other nations should be nervous. Or specifically, I'm just going to say people in the US should be nervous. So this happened in the UK. And the UK is a lot different than the US. Their laws and the way that they enforce things are different. Some people say that they're better, others say that they're a little bit more authoritarian. But what I'm showing on the screen is a title that says UK police arrest man over shotgun photo, seize devices and destroy his livelihood. And there's a photo of a man holding what looks like a shotgun in a field. And the article says John Booth, which is funny, John Booth, posted a picture of himself holding a shotgun at a Florida shooting range. So he wasn't in their country doing this. He was in another country doing this. And it goes on to say he was arrested, jailed overnight, and warned to think about how posts make people feel, and had his phone and computer seized, leaving him unable to work for weeks. Authorities finally dropped the baseless public order charges, confirming what critics call Britain's new rule: the process is the punishment. Now, I'm curious if this is right or not. So I'm going to ask Grok here, because this article is on X, and I'm going to find Grok to make to see if this article is right or not. Let me ask Grok, is this a real story? See if I can vet this out. Oh, okay, here we go. Yes, this is a real story based on recent events that's reported across credible news outlets and social media. John Booth, a 50-year-old IT consultant from West Yorkshire, UK, posted a photo on LinkedIn on August the 13th, 2025, showing him holding a shotgun at a private homestead during a holiday trip in Florida here in the US. The image was part of a longer post about his day and work activities with no threatening content. Upon returning to the UK, West Yorkshire police investigated following a complaint possibly linked to a business dispute. There we go. So somebody snitched on him. Officers visited his house twice, then arrested him under the Public Order Act 1986 for allegedly displaying material likely to cause fear or anxiety or similar intent to cause distress. He was detained overnight, interviewed, and released on bail. and police seized his phone and computers, preventing him from working for weeks. Yo, the investigation dragged on for about 3 months with additional bail visits and a brief rearrest in October for an alleged breach, but that was dropped. And on November of this year, just before a scheduled court appearance, the Crown Prosecution Service, which I guess is like their attorney general or somebody like that, discontinued the case due to insufficient evidence for conviction. Let me see if I can zoom in and make this a little bit bigger. That's what she said. So Booth described this ordeal as an Orwellian nightmare and 13 weeks of hell, criticizing it as police overreach that punished him via the investigative process alone. And he plans to file a formal complaint against the police and seek damages. That's crazy. That's crazy. Okay, wow. So it sounds like to me that while he was on vacation, he enjoyed himself. He took some photos, whatever, blah, blah, blah. He then gets back to the U.S., and it was likely that somebody who wanted to have some type of leverage over him decided to use that as a means to get him arrested on some trumped up charges to cause him to have a very disruptive 13 weeks. And that's the way that people are vindictive in how they're using laws and things that are on the books to just make your life a living nightmare. That's wild. That's wild. I can see this happening in the U.S. I can see some Karen, or what's the male version of a Karen? I can see some Stewart. Is the male version of a Karen Stewart? I can see somebody trying to use some type of a law that doesn't make any sense for the most part just to ruin your day. I watched a video of a guy who owned a boat, and the boat was docked in a place that he legally owned the boat. It was his boat, and it was docked at a docking space that he paid for. And some neighbor that didn't think that this guy belonged, and I'm going to let you infer what the main points of this story are, and the main people that were involved. Somebody that didn't think that this one guy belonged called the cops on someone who was on his boat minding his own business when the cops showed up, and the guy that made the complaint was basically saying, "You don't belong here, you don't belong here." And the guy was like, A, this is my boat and I've got the papers to produce it. And B, I'm supposed to be at this docking station because I paid to be here, and I got the receipts to prove it. And the cop showed up, and the guy had to, again, there was an accusation made, and he had to then produce things on his side to support that he wasn't in violation of anything. And I think that it's crazy when you're doing something like on a vacation and you make a post, and your post isn't about threatening anything or harming anybody. Your post is just showcasing something fun that you did and talking about something on your vacation or whatever, or while you were out. And you got people that, for some reason, maybe they're bored in their life. They're not, they don't have any love or attention. Who knows the reasons why idiots decide to want to try to ruin your day. But you got these people out here who will take actions like that and come out and just try to make your life a living hell. Shout out to Jen Dale over on YouTube with the hi. I appreciate you tuning in. And I don't even know how to pronounce this name, but somebody from, let me just put this up on the screen. Put up some type of a letter, a symbol. I appreciate you tuning in. If you hadn't, hit that like button already. See that thing that's scrolling down there that says hit the like button? Y'all hit that like button for me. Now, the last thing that I'm going to cover here is I'm going to cover and talk about what it takes and how our country politicizes certain things. So last week, I reported, and the nation reported, that there was 2 West Virginia National Guard members that were on patrol in downtown DC due to an order that, or I'm going to say more of a request that our current president, President Trump, put out there to keep the streets of certain areas safe in DC. Now, the West Virginia National Guard has been on what would now be their second rotation, if I understand the news correctly, where they have sent members into DC through their governor to help keep DC safe. Now, I live in the DMV area, and I thought DMV meant Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, but apparently it means DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And I've been into DC a couple of times. I used to actually work in DC. And yes, there are parts of DC that you wouldn't go to like most other major cities. But for the most part, DC didn't seem like it was an unsafe place. Like I didn't feel like I needed to, how do I say this? I didn't feel like I needed to keep my head on the swivel, but you should definitely keep your head on the swivel. Right? There were carjackings, just like there happen in most other major cities. It's a thing in major cities that unless you live in a utopia, you're just not going to avoid certain crimes and things like that. But these 2 West Virginia National Guard members were minding their own business in their, I want to say within their first 3 or 4 days of getting into DC. If I understand the story correctly, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, they had just gotten there. They had relieved whatever unit or people that were there before them, and they were taking up their deployment. I'm going to say deployment, mobilization, whatever the correct word is, when a young non-U.S. national, I'm going to just say it like that, decided to pull a weapon and gun these 2 people down. Sarah Beckstrom is one of the victims, and she did not survive. The other victim is currently in critical condition, still alive, but it's being reported that things aren't looking good for him, right? Now, Sarah Beckstrom has had a memorial service in her hometown of Cohen, West Virginia. No, I'm sorry. The memorial service happened about not too far from her hometown. I'm sorry. I'm reading this right here in Cohen, West Virginia, which is not too far from her hometown of Webster Springs. Now, Webster Springs and Cohen lowered their flags to half-staff in her honor. And I started thinking about something, right? When Charlie Kirk got killed, our president, vice president, and people in the highest offices made the request and put out the word, the orders, however these things are put out there, to lower flags at half-staff for our nation. And Charlie Kirk wasn't an elected political person. There are people that had never heard of Charlie Kirk before he tragically lost his life. Yet, due to who he was affiliated with and who he was associated with, Charlie got those honors, whereas Sarah Beckstrom and people that are associated with her have to do the request, and it's not like an automatic thing. And Sarah's name made national news because of the nature in how she lost her life. I can't think in the 40-something years that I've been on this earth that I've ever heard of a story or where, and I could do a quick Google search, of a National Guard person that was deployed or mobilized that lost their life in the U.S. due to that mobilization. If I have time today after my job, I'm going to look that up because I'm curious if this is the first. I'm curious if this is the first time that we have sent our National Guard members to someplace domestically and they lost their life due to violence, like not some sort of an accident. I am really curious if this is the first. Now, Sarah Beckstrom has had her flag go half staff in her state of West Virginia, which the governor definitely made the right choice in this one. I'm not sure if the governor made the right choice in supporting sending National Guard members down into DC. I don't think that the governor made the right choice in that. My question is why? Why can't DC's own infrastructure do what it needs to do to support keeping its own area safe? I don't know. To me personally, I think it's a slippery slope when you send National Guard members to places for safety and order. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong though. Y'all tell me. At least the governor did do the right thing to do the honors in remembrance of her and Sergeant Wolf, who's the other person that's still in critical condition. I didn't see any updates on him yesterday. They served out of the 167th Force Support Squadron, which is right down the road from where I live in Martinsburg, West Virginia. But what is our nation doing? I've lost 3 people personally in service of this country, and they didn't get their flag half raised across the nation the way that Charlie Kirk did. Tyler, Tory, and Trey are names that are the first names of people. I'm going to say first names. They are the names because Trey wasn't his original first name or whatever, but y'all know what I mean. They died in service of our country flying on Shell 77. There are people on this earth that don't know. They were like, so what's a Shell 77? What's a KC-135? When did this happen? Right? There are people that if I were to say that, they would not know what any of that means. Now, it's my understanding that they did get recognition from their respective areas that they were from. I don't know if the states that they were born in did any honors like that. So I don't know. I'm just asking the questions. I'm putting the information out here. I'm curious though, if other people think that it's interesting that our nation would do what they did for Charlie Kirk. But Sarah Beckstrom, who's also a name that is being said on a national level because of how it happened, doesn't receive the same honors. That's my live stream for today. I will be back tomorrow, December the 2nd, on Wake Up with the actual King Smith. Thanks for tuning in. Y'all have a great day. Peace.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Trumpets blare the golden call. A throne awaits, I rise so tall. Drums like thunder, shake the hall. Royal rope, I wear the weight. Diamonds cut the night, no debate. Heavy is the head, but I'm feeling great. Crown me king, crown me king. Horns will shout, let the kingdom sing. Crown me king, crown me king. Bow to the sound, feel the power I bring.